what we do.
Welcome. Happy evening to another episode of the Bad Batch Campaign series presented by the Showboys. I am Pixel Nick, and as always for this fine campaign series, I am joined with my good friend Mikey. Mikey, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing?
Pretty good. It's turned out to be a pretty good weekend overall. Nice little capper here.
Yeah, nice weather. I just got done watching an episode myself.
Very good. It's gonna be fresh.
Nice little cap for the weekend.
Yeah. No, this is a good one. I feel like it wasn't overly complicated. It was pretty straightforward as far as like the story they were telling, and they kept it short and brief, but there was a lot of good scenes, good shots. I liked it a lot. This was a nice change of pace, I think, overall from kind of where we've been. What'd you think about it?
Yeah, I liked it too. Action right off the bat. Thought it was, finally got some answers to some things, right? Finally saw some things play out. Finally got a right cameo. People, so we're waiting on, got a reveal, And
you're kind of privy to that, right? As far as like who that is and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, honestly, until he took the hood off, I at first I thought it was going to be Fennec again, just like because they only showed his eyes, and I wasn't sure. And then when he took his head off, I was like, I feel like that's going to be. And then I heard him say Rex.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
But and then it tied, and he said, tied it to the last episode and stuff. So got some answers to that. So
right. Yeah, and there's I know, since the last episode, there's some people thinking that might be like Bail Organa, who was basically like Princess Leia's adopted father, which I thought was a fair potential, right? Because they didn't give us a lot to go off of, but I'm glad it turned out to be Rex. Obviously, his presence overall just gave it a good like Clone Wars throwback vibe, just because it's always good seeing him donning his gear and like kind of just being Rex. He's just such a great character, and it was cool to see him reunited with the Bad Batch because they're good friends and allies.
It was a nice Star Wars setting too, right?
Yeah, and that obviously, so like the planet Barca, I believe, Barca.
Something like that.
This is particularly exciting because this in the most recent kind of Star Wars game, Jedi Fallen Order, this is like a planet you're on early on. I don't know if you played that at all or familiar with it.
Familiar with it, but haven't played it. I was just talking with Johnny. My brother about it yesterday for something. I can't remember what, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, that game was so good, and the character, particularly the main one, Cal, was so good in that everyone is kind of really antsy to see that flesh out live action, right? Because that character is basically exactly modeled off of the voice actor, and he's even kind of he's an actor himself. So, people are just waiting for more of the Fallen Order stuff to kind of get fleshed out in either more shows or movies or whatever it might be. So that was that's just a fun nod off of something fresh, such as Fallen Order. And then you throw that in the Bad Batch, it being like the main planet we're on this episode. So, not anything direct connection. Can't really say they're going to do anything, but it's fun to add that planet in here just because it helps draw Fallen Order further into, live action series, other mediums here for Star Wars. So
at least so they can if they have to, right? So at least sets it up. So if they want to, right? So it's at least cool. So at least a little nod.
Yeah, just getting all this intertwining going on, which is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it started off with a nice little action sequence. It looks like they were, escaping from some bad guys or just some people that they were pulling a job off for. And it's another job here for Sid after a lizard of some sort. And I think Sid particularly is in this like rare like pet trade. Like she like hustles rare pets around the galaxy. You know, we have a rancor, we have this lizard thing.
Yeah.
It just seems to be like her thing. Like she just acquires like rare pets for clients and stuff. So, you know, I guess they're, you know, PETA wouldn't be too happy about that or anything like that, or, you know, animal trafficking, if you will. But, you know, it happens. At least they're not breeding them. You know, maybe she's got like a back room down there and she's breeding animals too. Who knows? She's a wild character. And I thought it was funny. She said that's one strange lizard, and she is kind of a lizard herself. Just her race. What she reminds me of a race from like Elder Scrolls. And I can't think of what like a race like that in Star Wars is. But I'm just thinking of that. I wanted to say it, but I'm like, nope, that's from Elder Scrolls for sure. But yeah, you know, they need, you know, in this scene though, they're trying to get away, trying to jump to hyperspace. Echo's taking his time fixing it, and you know, Tech gives him the one line there. He's like, well, if you'd hurry up and fix the ship or whatever. So that was a fun little action sequence. You know, they're kind of wreckers in the back tumbling around, and you know, just, you know, a nice little trope here in Star Wars, always trying to get away and jump to hyperspace. So that was cool. But back at Sid's place, kind of in the tavern, you know, you get this kind of reoccurring theme here where Hunter and the crew there, they're trying to figure out what Sid is about, right? And they're kind of getting the picture that Sid really kind of just does whatever, so long the price is right, you know, the job's good and she gets paid. She even said like she doesn't ask questions so long she's getting paid. So, you know, this constantly is going back to like Hunter's battle here, where he's like, do we just kind of survive and get by, or do we like try to do the right thing? Because we know what the right thing is most of the time, but we're never quite aligned with it perfectly. And I just feel like he's just constantly trying to figure out how do they survive in the galaxy now, untethered from like the Empire or the Republic, and do the right thing at the same time. And then, you know, we also get in this scene too where she lets them know that they owe her debt for like provisions, you know, supplies, docking fees, and he's going over like little manifests, and he's just like, you know, when did space popcorn, which was cool. Because Wrecker and Omega, you know, they run off after end of every mission and get some Star Wars popcorn, which I thought was cool. But Wrecker kind of just says put it on Sid's tab. So they're running up this bill, right? And it's just kind of like the cost of living or the cost of operations, right? You know, they're used to the Republic just taking care of all that for them. They just have to go do what they do. But here they have to worry about food and like rations, supplies, docking fees. So it definitely is all new to them. And here Sid is, you know, she's not letting them freeload or anything. So, you know, this is all kind of new to them. So a lot of little back and forth here, you know. Sid, maybe they were like really cool with Sid at first, but I kind of feel like there's like a growing kind of tension with Sid, or just at least annoyed with her. And she's also equally annoyed with them, I think, a little bit, as far as just seeing how this mutual relationship pans out, but it's not as mutual as probably either party would like it. Kind of what were you thinking about that? Like, because I know we've talked about like her stance, because she even made that comment like she would turn them in or something.
Yeah, I think ultimately, like you said, she'll play whatever side's going to benefit her. The more she knows and has on people, the more she can use when the other side needs it. So I think it'll definitely be like Hunter, but I think her arc will be, you know, she's going to have to make a decision at, you know, will she turn the batch over for her own reasons, or, you know what I mean? Will she actually, you know, kind of care, you know, about them and have, you know, some compassion and stuff. But I think it'll come to that where we're going to see, you know, maybe the split, or, you know, they're going to, will it be more than, you know, just business between them?
Yeah. You know, I like to think that she stays kind of like a good person. I think she just plays like, you know, the tough person angle there. Yeah. And maybe she's like really a big old softie at the end of the day. but it will, if it does, it would come down to the wire. Like she'd have to make that decision like on hand whether she wants to be the good guy or the bad guy. So
yeah,
I do like that they're keeping her character very much in the gray. It could go either way if it came down to it.
Yeah. And like you said, that she kind of specializes in lost critters, right? So what if, someone comes looking and that critter is Omega?
Yeah.
You know.
That's how you can quickly go from like animal trafficking to child trafficking really quickly here in the Star Wars universe. Like technically it's a critter. It's a creature.
Well, yeah,
it's a clone.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if that'll have to play out. We'll see how much they utilize that. I would like to think something might have to happen eventually, just with how much we're getting of Sid. I mean, this is what, 4th episode with Sid in it, and
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
it's kind of the better part of the series here at 7 episodes. So
yeah, and we're starting to see at least like people are coming there, right?
Yeah.
Since we're
I don't know if we're like in a lull at the beginning, like it's just a slow time when they popped in at first, but it definitely seems like a decent little like underground, below street level bar that she's got going on there.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, also some additional people in the tavern here, or the bar, whatever you want to call it, is we have a cloaked figure kind of hanging out and watching them as they kind of go into the back with Sid. And Hunter, obviously being very perceptive, observes this cloaked figure, observing them, and he's always kind of on edge, as Hunter is, always trying to be aware of his surroundings, but he doesn't quite know who that is, and he kind of just lets that be, because he got interrupted by Wrecker and Omega needing to run off and get their special after mission treat. So, they go into the back, and they're basically haggling with Sid over their debt to her. And then they hear kind of like a blaster fire because there's an Ethorian out there taking issue with this cloaked figure sitting in his seat. I guess he had a specific seat in this very kind of low traffic bar, but took issue with it. Captain Rex, as it will turn to come out, kind of like just shot his blaster, and they all kind of come out of the back. Sid's kind of throwing a fit, like, what's going on out here? And we see the cloaked figure, and we see his arm, which is the blue clone armor signature of the 501st. And then, at that point, it's very, very obvious to many that it is Captain Rex. And then he removes his hood, and we get his lovely blonde hair and his very weathering face, because we get a little note on that in a bit here. But it is Captain Rex, and this was just a perfect little segue introduction for him. We knew it was going to happen. I like that it kind of just like he found them kind of thing. Obviously, he was tipped off by the Martinez sisters. So, essentially, Sid throws out some comments here where she's like, this, this, I forget what's she called.
She says
a clone clubhouse. She's like, this isn't a clone clubhouse.
Yeah.
And she's just like, oh, another one. She's like, she's just not trying to harbor runaway clones at this point. So basically she like dips off into the back. She just doesn't want to have anything to do with this situation, because she's just probably annoyed by the fact that there's another clone showing up. But Rex, Rex is hanging out with Tech, Hunter, and Echo, kind of having drinks with the boys at the bar. He kind of explains that he's been laying low. Tech notes that the Empire has him filed as killed in combat, and Rex says it has its advantages because that kind of helps him lay low, and he's obviously not one to need to be on the Empire's radar. So Wrecker and Omega come back in here, and Wrecker bear hugs Rex, that big old gorilla hug, picks him up. I thought Omega had a good line here. She's like, I thought you didn't like the regs. And Wrecker's like, we like this one, because Rex is one of the few kind of regular regs, right? Regular clone troopers that impressed the Bad Batch. He had a certain style about him, and he was very aggressive, and being Anakin Skywalker's top clone, you're gonna have to be a pretty badass individual. So Rex definitely earned the batch's respect in that. And so like Hunter was explaining to him like that, their situation's a little different. They have Omega. This is obviously interesting to Rex because who's heard of a child clone in the first place, let alone a female child clone? And her and Rex kind of level. He gets down to like her level and kind of like greets her, and they meet, and like she leans. He's like, I've met a lot of clones, but I never met one like you. She like leans in real close. She's like, you're a Generation 1. And he's like, how did you know? And she's like, the line's in your face. So
yeah.
Rex is he's a veteran essentially. He's been around.
Yeah.
Have you seen any more of the Clone Wars, or like where have you seen Captain Rex?
No, I haven't. Just from this, from talking to you and looking up a little bit, I know a little bit about him.
Yeah,
I think this is the first time I've actually seen him on on screen.
Okay, yeah.
So go back and watch some.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I think it'd be cool. Like once you go back and like watch the Clone Wars, particularly season 7, because a lot of the stuff that he talks about and they allude to in this episode reference season 7. But that'll be cool, and that's just like another one of those situations where technically this was your introduction to the character, and it was a good introduction, as they always seem to set up in Star Wars. They kind of allude to him in the previous episode, not directly, but then you have a hood figure, and kind of like that hood figure in the bar, kind of Aragorn from like Lord of the Rings removes his cloak, and like you could tell like he's a badass, and he's like a pretty cool character from the get-go. He's kind of a gunslinger, a war hero kind of thing, and just a solid reintroduction of this character to new people who aren't familiar with him. So I always like to think about like what it would be like if this was my first introduction to a character like that, and then I go back and get to see all this other stuff he's done. It's a unique thing Star Wars does sometimes.
Yeah, like I said, I could definitely tell. He's sweet, and that, he obviously, I knew for me that he existed in the Clone Wars and stuff. So I know that obviously, when I go back and watch that I'll be like, oh yeah, it makes it. Definitely a badass character.
Yeah, and it's
the episode. They go. The little adventure they go on. On this broken down destroyers. Just wrecked destroyers. Definitely. We could tell he definitely. Almost like he just was supposed. Used to be in the batch with them.
Right. Yeah, and he's just a real natural character to have in here, because much like them, he's a survivor basically of the Clone Wars, right? And not the whole inhibitor chip thing, and he got his removed and went through all that, and basically his story kind of left off right where the batches picks up with Order 66. So Clone Wars ends with Order 66 in the final arc in episodes. Rex survives that, and then here the batches starts off with Order 66, and then we get to see how they survived that. So it completely makes sense for Rex to be near and dear to this story, especially when he said he knew it had to be them when the Martez sisters said that there were some rogue clones that interfered with their job, so it could only be so many clones out there in the galaxy.
Yeah, and too, like, definitely we keep getting the little hints of what's the chip doing and stuff like that, and then he definitely is there to show, because right here when they're drinking and they're like, just can't, we don't have our chips, and he like goes for his blaster right away, even though he's drinking with, what I mean, showing you like, so I thought that too, definitely to show the importance of this chip, what it could do, and what we see happens, in this episode.
Right, and it's an interesting thing there, because he's pretty comfortable around them, and I think he just assumed that they got the chips removed, and that's like how they survived. And then here Wrecker is like getting his headaches again. You know, he's being crippled at the bar because he has a raging headache. You know, we've all had that story before. So then Rex sees this and he instantly gets suspicious because obviously like clones having pain up here, like it's only really one thing. And then I think Tech was like saying, he's like, yeah, or Echo was like, yeah, and those are happening more frequently. He's like, really? He's like basically becoming very defensive and like kind of on guard because quickly, like you said, he realizes that they still have their chips in, and he's kind of, I think, blown away by this. But Tech's like, no. He's like, because of our because we're different, overrode the inhibitor chip, except Crosshair, right? And in that, Tech's a smart guy. I don't think his logic doesn't stick there because he says they're kind of like immune to the chips, except Crosshair. So basically, to Rex's point, you're all an exception. Like you're all ticking time bombs with these chips, and he draws down though because they're not hostile to the idea because Tech and Hunter are basically like, we haven't gotten them removed yet. We plan to. We just haven't like gotten around to it.
He's like, well, let's go do it then.
Yeah, and he's like, okay, I'll be in touch. So I mean, I kind of got that a little bit. Like I get it. Like maybe Rex just assumed that they didn't have their chips, and here they are. They had their chips, but they're still cool. He's like, so I do have a window here, and they're open to the idea. So definitely de-escalate that situation. But yeah, he said he'll be in touch. So next scene, we're aboard the Marauder. Wrecker's kind of giving his childish, like, I don't want to do this. This doesn't sound like a good idea. I don't really want, my head to get cut open and stuff. And he's like, it's not fair that Omega doesn't have it. And he's just giving his childish, demeanor bit there where he just doesn't want to do it. But Dad Hunter says, we told Rex we're going to meet him on Braca, and that's what we're doing. So we're going to the doctor and we're going to fix you up. So obviously Wrecker just does not want to deal with this situation. He's the first one to the cutting table because he's got the most issues from it. So yeah, and then they lightly introduce Braca here, and essentially 5 years later is when Fallen Order happens with Braca. So we kind of get to see Braca 5 years prior here, right after. And it's not, the whole planet isn't like this, but there is big chunks of the planet that are just kind of starship graveyards, and there's a scrappers guild that kind of runs the operations there, kind of just like the mob would or something down but at the docks. I think of The Wire, where you got the kind of the mob run the docks down there. So they land on Braca. They land in an old, I think it was an old I think I want to say it might have been a Venator based on the hangar door they're in, but they land in this, and you get to see a Y-wing starfighter, a blue one. So it's basically Captain Rex is there. I think it's one they took from season 7. They had it in there, but I think that was cool. We got to see a little bit of what he's driving these days, what he's flying. Basically, he strolls up as soon as they land, and he's in his full armor. And basically they suit up and head out. You get to see the batch in their full gear. You get to see Rex in his full gear. And I just thought this was really cool just because it feels very Clone Wars having the whole squad here geared up, Captain Rex leading the way. Just a lot of callbacks to the prior series. And Rex kind of explains that along the way. He's like, essentially where he got his chip cut out was on a Venator, or he calls it a Jedi cruiser at this point, but they're Venator starships, and they're essentially very early versions of the Star Destroyers, because that's what the Republic used, and then the Empire switched to them, and then eventually upgrade them to the Star Destroyers. And he was saying there's a medical bay in there that he knows can do it because it did it to him. So basically, they're going to find it. I think Wrecker complains why they're so far away, And that basically that's because they're trying to avoid the Scrapper Guild, because they're kind of patrolling on like little skiffs.
Yeah.
Keep making sure people stay away from their scrap, even though there's plenty of it. And you get a little dialogue here between Rex and Echo, which is cool because they're kind of catching up, just because they worked more closely together, if you will. They're more so brother than the batches to Echo and Rex. So there's kind of like catching up on the way they're walking, and basically Rex is like, how did you guys find about chips? He's like, well, actually it's the kid. He's like, Omega? He's like, yeah. And that's just, once again, we're referring back to Omega is, she's a little bit more knowledgeable than she seems.
Mm-hmm.
She's very sharp to things, and plus she was kind of on the ins and outs there with the Camino, and so Rex kind of is learning that she's more than just this clone kid that they have with them. Yeah. And they kind of approach the Venador, got the signature two bridge look to them, the kind of like two towers that stick up. And as they approach it, Omega notes how much larger they look in person. And this is very true. And you kind of get this a lot through this scenery as they're kind of walking through this graveyard. And it's just huge ships. And, they're walking across very, very large segments of them, which are actually small portions of the larger ship. And I just thought that was cool because these ships are absolutely massive. And sometimes that doesn't quite get appreciated because we see them in space and they're fighting with other ships and things. So, here we get to see them on the ground, wrecked, all that kind of stuff. I don't know what you think about like Brock here. I know the scenery. I was really impressed with like the scenery and stuff.
No, I like the scenery a lot. And especially once they start getting to where they're like, oh, don't go too close to the water. And I'm like, well, how deep could it be? But then like I kind of felt to me like a Dagobah, but indoors, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So kind of let you know. And then like, then I was kind of wondering, well, you're like, well, what's going to be down there? And there was something pretty damn big down there. So I think, like, to your point, lets you know how big, that this actually is, these ships actually are. But yeah, like visually and stuff, it was great scenery. Enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, for being like a bunch of metal, it looked pretty cool. It's just very large scale. And you get to see that in Fallen Order in the opening too, because you are basically one of these scrappers, and you're kind of like jumping around this thing, like just scrapping these giant ships. It's pretty cool. So I'm glad we got to see a little bit more of that. Yeah. And I thought it was fun. Rex was kind of given the like tour guide spiel. He's like, oh, this is an original Vandor class Star Destroyer. He's like, first one off the line, and the Wrecker's like, just like you, Rex. So I thought that was a fun little joke in there. And like to like what you said, short and brief of it is Wrecker fights a giant space junk octopus or something like that, or Leviathan. I'm not sure. Like this thing was at first I thought they were going to do the Empire Strikes Back, or no, A New Hope, the first Star Wars, with the little like trash compactor creature. But I don't think that was this. This thing was like a full on Watcher in the Water type thing from like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. It was like a giant squid. Little action and comedic relief with, and we see like this, it ends up pushing the story along, but Wrecker takes a big tumble, ends up hanging, ends up but yet again fighting his way out of it, and then they get him pulled up. But we see holding the big monster octopus type squid thing. Yeah,
that thing was wild. We didn't get to see too much of it, but they beat it. It was a fun little thing, and essentially they were right on their way to the medical bay. It's like the last thing they had to do, last thing to overcome. So after that, they make it to the medical bay, and they have to like lift the door up and stuff, and they're able to turn the lights back on, which is always interesting in these shows. Completely dead ship, but you can still get rooms to like turn on and stuff. So that's handy. It must be battery backups. I don't know. Powering the lines. But essentially, Tech's starting to do his thing where he's getting out his little head scanner thing. Echo is kind of firing up all the systems. He's kind of interfacing with stuff, and they're kind of prepping Wrecker. Hunter grabs his gear, his gun, his backpack, his helmet, and kind of set off to the side. And Omega kind of levels with him and is just like, just because it worked on Rex doesn't mean it's going to work on you guys. And like, this is incredibly dangerous. And if it doesn't work out, like, she's like, I'm going to be all alone with like no one. And, Hunter basically kind of told her like, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be all right. We're in this together kind of thing. And Rex is kind of, he's just said like, it kind of just has to happen because they're more dangerous with it in there. But he also observes this like relationship that Hunter has with Omega, that father kind of daughter relationship. So, just a little bit of just throwing that in there. Just more of the kind of the family build up here where Omega is just much part of the crew, but she's also kind of, she has a little bit of fear too, because she doesn't want to lose them because they are her family. So good little bit there, but closely after there, Tech starts to scan Wrecker's head, and he basically says he just found what should be the chip, kind of like an anomaly up in that part of the brain, and this clearly irritates Wrecker. He becomes severely visibly agitated at this point. So I think Tech goes to like sedate Wrecker or give him some kind of like pre-surgery shot, and the music starts, and Wrecker just like mid-motion just like grabs his arm, and you see his eyes kind of like roll and then flicker, and then like they like re-turn on, like he turns into like Order 66 Wrecker.
Yeah.
And basically grabs Tech by the neck, and it's like, you are in direct violation of Order 66. And I think there was something specific that triggered it, and it was obviously the fact that the inhibitor chip was being threatened. Wrecker didn't want this to happen, but also subconsciously, right, because of the chip, doesn't want this to happen. Yeah. But kind of in the background, while Tech is starting to do this with Wrecker, Hunter and Rex are talking, and Hunter referenced back to the first episode, and he said, we let the Padawan go. So I think Wrecker heard that. So between the situation and then hearing Hunter say, we let the Padawan go, essentially admitting that they were in violation of Order 66, it just snapped into place. And I think that's kind of what happened there. But we get the moment that we all were waiting for, and that's Wrecker going full Order 66 mode, and he's pretty much a monster. He's an animal in this. Crazy action sequence. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then like I said, we were talking about, well, what's going to happen when, they've got to fight him. It was pretty good. And then, definitely, you get him about to take out Hunter, and you get Omega with the blaster.
Yeah.
You were the moment where Kenny, kind of overcome the chip for that little bit, but no, he ends up going after Omega.
Yeah, and it is a pretty cool like fight sequence. I can't think of whatever directly reminded me of, but like the dark hallways and just like the tight spaces, and Wrecker's just like this, just complete dominates the space, right? And there's really kind of Hunter, Rex, and Echo kind of like in his shadow, like trying to fight him.
Yeah, if I had to say, it'd probably be like the Avengers when the Hulk, like I think in the first and second one when they got to go against the Hulk. It'd be kind of like that, but not on a not quite as big level.
Yeah,
but he's just bigger than everyone, and just
smashing his way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had Hunter in a tight spot, but then Omega kind of like shot at him.
With a blaster.
Yeah.
Bigger one.
Yeah, enough to draw his attention away. So basically, then he starts just kind of like chasing her, right? And this kind of chasing, you get this classic trope where it's like hiding in the room behind the panel. He kind of like thinks he knows where she's at, and they play off that, and then he like rips it off, and it's just like a rat, and she's hiding somewhere else. So then ultimately, though, he does find her, and she says, she's like, I'm your friend. Like, this isn't you. This is the chip. And you see him slow down. Like, he's pointing the gun at her, but he utters, the signature phrase here where he's like, good soldiers follow orders. And he did it really slow. Like, at this point, he was resisting it, mostly because he's probably, about to kill Omega. So, like, this is like peak resistance. But even then, like, it wasn't enough. Like, if Rex hadn't popped in and like stunned him and knocked him out, he probably would have shot Omega, because he couldn't fight it at that point. He was trying for sure.
Rex was in there to save the day.
Because he got like knocked out early on. And then like Hunter, so then like he was kind of like leaning against the wall, and he was able to stun him. Big guy got stunned, fell down. But that was a really good sequence, good action. Good fight amongst all of them, and then also just like this very menacing kind of terrifying Wrecker in these like dark, confined spaces. Just like a lot of anxiety one can get watching that kind of stuff, because I mean, he's a scary dude. He's huge, and he dominates the space. It's not a lot of room in there, and not a lot of places for them to go. So that basically being the height of the action in the show, right? That was kind of the climax there, and nothing really more to go off of there, because essentially they perform the procedure, and essentially they're kind of alluding that it's taking longer than they kind of expect, and then like he comes out and Tex is like, well, we're not going to really know much until he's conscious again, and then Omega just basically insists she's going to stay by his side, so they all kind of hang out there with Wrecker, and like some time goes by, I think, because like Tex sleeping, Echo sleeping, Rex is kind of just leaning there against the wall, and then he wakes up, and he basically comes to, and he's kind of A-okay, and it went well. And then like they kind of fast track through that, they all get their chips removed, and essentially like they're all gearing up to leave, and they all got their kind of like patches on their head from where they got cut, and that's the title of the episode, Battle Scars here. That's their battle scar, essentially, having made it all the way through the Clone Wars. I think you're officially done with the Clone Wars when you get your inhibitor chip removed as a clone. So you made it to the other side, and get a bit here where Wrecker apologizes to Omega, and Omega says it's all right, and she pulls out some space popcorn from her pocket. And they eat it because it's the end of the mission. So, her feelings weren't hurt. She, she's a smart kid. She knows that it was the chip, right? So, but he felt bad because that's, he's a big softy at heart, and he felt absolutely terrible because he seemed like he was somewhat, they're somewhat coherent, right? So that kind of confirms it for, if we ever were to wonder, like, is Crosshair completely aware of like what he's doing and the actions he's taking? And I would say potentially yes, because Wrecker, based on his apology there, was pretty aware, that he was trying to kill Omega, and he felt terrible about it. So, next bit here, Hunter strolls up Rex's top side. Essentially, he's kind of out making a comm with someone we don't know, but he's telling them basically he'll meet them on like next rotation. Hunter's like, I figured you were out of the, or he says, I figured you weren't out of the fight just yet. And Rex is like, spent my whole life defending the Republic. Can't stop now. Basically, Hunter kind of like, but the Republic's gone, right? And Hunter's doing this thing where he's trying to figure out what's going on, like what's their place. And he seems like kind of like a verbatim person. Like he's lived his life by, orders, right? And orders define his reality. And right now he has no orders. So a notion of like the Republic is technically gone. Rex kind of tells him, he's like, well, not all of it. Like there's still parts and pieces of it out there. And he basically says like, you guys would be a very helpful piece of that if you guys wanted to come fight the good fight. But Hunter kind of just says like they have other priorities, and they're still figuring out, right? Obviously this has been like the first half of the season. He's still figuring out maybe they need to kind of like really figure it out a little bit faster, but
Yeah.
you know, it's understandable. They're having a hard time. This is all new to them. But Rex extends the offer to join up whenever they are ready. And I don't know. To me, this was like a very, being a Rex fan, being a clone fan, like when Rex is walking away, puts his helmet on, he walks basically not into the sunset, he walks off into like the fog, basically the fog of war. And I don't know, that was just like, I think that was a real intense scene for me, just because like we had this character, he's back, we love him, and then he kind of just like fades away again into the mist. And we're left here with Hunter kind of just not confused, but he's always just pondering like what it is they're doing and like why. I don't know what you think about that little bit there. I mean, it turned into a pretty, I don't know, that was an intense moment for me. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was a good scene. And then I kind of, figured, I don't know if it was supposed to be like, Hunter, now that the chip's out, it's like, damn, there's no excuse, right?
Oh, so, I didn't think about that.
Now he's like, it's kind of like they're finally, now it's like,
yeah,
whatever the batch does, it's on them 100%. So I wouldn't say like necessarily safety net, but now that the chip's gone,
it has to be really freeing. I didn't think about that.
The questions that Hunter did have and has been going through now, it's like, well, now I really, where am I going? What do I want to do? Who am I?
It's probably really freeing for them.
Yeah.
That this kind of like weight that they've had and this like worry is now completely gone. They're not going to turn in the crosshair. Not that I think they thought they would, but there was always maybe that like chance, right? Or just that unknown. And now that's completely gone. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, that's kind of like a pivotal point there for sure.
Even just Rex telling them, not only is the Republic still there,
yeah,
but, hey, dude, it's if you want to, but right, like, hey, it's your free will, man. If you want to come fight, and he's kind of like, oh, wait a minute, yeah, I kind of can just go with you if I want to, can't I? Like,
yeah, because he's like, there's parts and pieces of the Republic out there, and technically, as the Bad Batch, you're part of the Republic. Like, it can still be there if you want it to be.
Yeah. And right, like he's kind of like we talked about, him talking about, does he want to be a soldier forever? And Rex, that's kind of like his future almost, right? Like him, that's almost the one path option is him turning a life like Rex has,
Right.
Just a soldier until it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that was just such a good ending to the episode. Yeah. And I don't know. They're really good in this whole Disney era at introducing characters that we've already seen, and then also they're great exits. Like that was just a phenomenal exit there.
I would definitely, I guess I would call this the mid-season finale because we get answers, I'd say, to the chip, and then we get a nice little teaser, don't we? With the, I don't know what kind of troopers you'd call them, but they're looking at the ship.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, that's our last little bit here, and that's we got some scrappers basically up on this skiff, and they're kind of peering down on Hunter, and they're basically like notify the Empire that they're here, and it's interesting. These scrappers, they don this mask, and this mask is essentially very similar to Darth Revan's. He's from like the Old Republic, and that's like 4,000 years ago. But I just thought it was interesting that they used. I don't know if there's like kind of a precedent here of them wearing that, or if they just decided to like put these masks on the scrappers. But Revan's like one of my favorite characters, and I was like, oh look, these scrappers have his mask essentially. But yeah, like you said, I mean that's a good point. I mean, this is episode 7. We have 7 more to go, and yeah, we've resolved the inhibitor chip. None of them have it, so there's that is gone.
We met cameo to help
big
push
cameo
along.
Big cameo that ties into like the greater kind of like resistance rebel rising, the very early stages of the rebellion.
they now have free will, except kind of their debt to Sid, right?
Yeah.
That's really the only and now
Yeah.
we also see, people know they're there now, right? If Rex is able to find them, and then now the statement we have where they're alert the Empire, there's what we have a Jedi on the ship, or
Yeah,
right,
and
yeah,
so that peels into like what's to come. Like basically the Empire is going to come back into loop because we've been missing the Empire. Tech has been working on the scanner to detect the chip. So basically they've put off getting the chips removed for the past like 4 episodes. And now we finally locked it in.
I think that kind of gives us our answer too, right? We've been waiting for verification that Omega's a clone of a Jedi. They were looking at the Batch's ship, right? When they said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would imagine the Jedi that they picked up would have to be Omega, right?
Yeah, that would be the only one on there, unless there's something that they didn't show in the episode.
Yeah.
At all.
So now the Empire, right now, the Empire is after Omega.
Yeah.
They just don't know it.
Yeah, I wonder what tipped them off of that being a Jedi or like.
I was gonna ask you if what they had then would make it a Jedi ship, but
Well, the ship is a Jedi like cruiser.
Okay.
Yeah,
never mind. Maybe I thought they meant like it picked up like a Jedi, but never mind. Yeah, maybe I overthought that.
I didn't take it as that, but I mean, now I can't remember if they said it like it's the Jedi ship, and they're like inside of it, but for whatever reason, so I kind of took it as that's just the guild basically saying there's not fugitives, but people on the ship and notify them, because I don't think the guild necessarily enforces. But I don't know. I mean, but it's the point still there is that the Empire is about to get involved again.
Well, at least, at the very least, I overthought it, but same point. They're going at. They know a Jedi ship is out there.
Yeah, and so I wonder how fast the Empire is going to get there, and can they send Crosshair in time to intercept them? And the way that was set up too, it was like, is the next. Because to me, they were like about to get out of there.
Yeah.
So is the next episode going to pick like right up like the next day or same day on Barca?
Yeah. If the Empire trails them back to Sid's, is Sid, like I said, you think she's going to do whatever she needs to do to get the Empire out of there.
Right.
But it's interesting because not like there's definitely more people on the Batch's tail. But now, like I'd say that little tease, I'd definitely say the Empire is about to have a big part of the second half of this, season.
Okay, I guess re-listen to it. The Scrapper Guild said the intruders are confirmed to be on the Jedi cruiser. Okay. So basically, there's tracking intruders. And they're going to notify the Empire to basically apprehend them. So I would say for now, there's no reason to believe that the Empire is after them specifically, but they're about to be alerted of their presence. Yeah. But I imagine the next episode, based on that, might pick up here on Barca, like maybe like in the morning, because it's kind of like nighttime when this is happening. So I wonder if like they're going to be going to leave in the morning and they're going to have to like fight their way out. And all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because I'd say it doesn't for the Batch doesn't really seem to be and have a reason to be an urgent
Yeah, they're kind of just chilling.
Yeah, so that definitely sounds like they're about to get caught. I'd say off guard, almost, but
yeah, because if it took that long for like Wrecker to recover, and just assume that each of them took a while to recover, they've been there for at least like 8 hours, maybe 6 hours. So I imagine the next episode will be on Barca here. Maybe they're trying to escape, but the Empire's not going to be aware it's the Batch, but probably pretty quickly they will be aware. And at that point they're going to notify Crosshair. So Crosshair is either next episode or the next episode after that, either 8 or 9 here.
Yeah. That's what I would say is they're probably would send Crosshair and then the new, his replacement Batch.
Yeah.
Now that they have the chips off, we'll finally get to see the new bat, with Omega versus Crosshair with the replacement batch.
Yeah. Off-brand batch.
Yeah.
Plus Crosshair.
We haven't had any Crosshair in quite a few episodes now, honestly.
Since episode 2? Or is that all in 1? Have we not seen him since 1?
It might be 3, technically, since...
Oh, yeah. Because we did...
the first 2 were 1 episode, or whatever.
No, episode 1 was just long, but we did have episode 3 or 2 where he went off on the mission there, so...
Yeah.
It's been since episode 1 that they've seen Crosshair. We haven't seen him since, 3 or 2. Yeah. It'll be good. I like Crosshair, even though he's a bad guy right now. I do like him, so I want to see him.
I expect him to at least go out and on, Blaze of Glory. So, he should have at least, a couple episodes where he has a big part,
Well, actually, now that we talk about it, if the next episode picks up here on Barca and the Empire's hunting them, if somehow they can get Crosshair onto this planet soon, before the batch leaves, they could capture Crosshair and then take him to the medical bay and take the chip out.
That would be,
Because right now, I mean, I don't know how else they're going to get the chip out, but they're right by the exact catalyst to get the chip out. So if they can get Crosshair there, we could get Crosshair back into the batch in an episode or 2.
Yeah, that would be, because I don't think the people. I'm definitely wasn't expecting that, but that is a good point. It might get him back.
This is obviously under the assumption that we are going to save Crosshair, and Crosshair is not going to die with the chip in his head. So if there is a redemption, Crosshair gets the chip out, it probably has to happen soon. I mean, unless they go back to Barca. I don't know. So it could be. I mean, I almost feel like this could be setting up. Just with the way this one ended, and it was just so kind of impactful, we could have a little mini power arc here in the mid season, and we could actually have a 2 or 3 episode focused arc about getting Crosshair back. I don't know.
Yeah,
potential.
Yeah, but we're getting over the hill now, so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to unfold, so it's definitely cool. Definitely can't wait to see the next episode.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to have another middle of the second half of the season kind of lull. Even though the lull wasn't even that bad, we basically had some filler episodes that were very needed to introduce a lot of stuff. So I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I think so too, especially because I could be wrong, but I expect the last episode to be maybe close to 2 episodes, if not long, if not an episode and a half of 40 minutes, something like that. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't be surprised if one of the other ones is just a little filler so that they do leave enough. Because, whatever we've got left from now to the end, that last episode's got to be – it's going to be sweet. I mean, we got at least 7 episodes, 7, 8, something like that.
Yeah, 7 or 8. It's interesting though, because with the first episode of this season being kind of a 70-minute premiere, right? Almost 2 or 3 episodes in itself. Now, how they did the Clone Wars is they would do 2 or 3 episode arcs to where, and technically in season 7 they did 4 episode arcs. So the end of the one episode would bleed instantly into the next one. So there are different episodes, but it was basically one big movie.
Yeah.
So I'm surprised they did go for the 70-minute premiere, and not a kickoff arc. So I don't know if they're going to end with another big episode, or if they're going to package it up into an arc, a 3-episode finale arc. So that'll be interesting. But either way, we only have 4 episodes before the finale.
That's right. Yeah, that's
kind of gets going.
Yeah. And say
it makes me feel like summer is going to fly by at this point. Now that I know the batch ends early August, so You know, we're about to destroy June. July's going to disappear on us, and then we're going to be at the finale.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is a good episode.
It was nice, real nice episode.
And I also feel like, you know, and that's the other thing. Maybe now seeing this episode again, this episode definitely reminded me more of kind of like the first episodes, where they're very, especially the first episode, where it's very cinematographic, very big scale, lots of kind of, it's not detailed, but it has a very nice kind of like aesthetic overall to it. Whereas, you know, the Rancor episode, it's a bit cartoony, right? We're kind of, it was a little more lighthearted, and the same one with like with Fennec in the chase scene, really cool scenery and stuff, but you know, it's just like a completely different vibe and feel. So like this one just definitely felt a little bit more serious and a little bit more kind of like grounded in the story they're telling.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, that's about all I have. I mean, great episode, and I can't think of much more to speculate on at this point. There's just, we just know that we're, like you said, we're about to be heading down the hill to the end.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If you got anything else?
No, I think I'm
cool.
Done too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's all we got for tonight. You know, this is the Bad Batch Companion series. Join us almost every Sunday this summer, and we will go over the latest episode. Be sure to check out our Thursday night What's Watching and What's Playing episodes. We did a awesome What's Playing catch up this past Thursday, and this Thursday we will be having another What's Playing, going over E3. Our special correspondent Chad has a pass to E3, and he will be bringing us all the news and fun stuff from this special event that will be currently going on, and will be going on for the next 2 days. So real excited for that. A little extra gaming period here this June. So tune in for that. And then also tune in next Sunday for another Bad Batch Companion series with myself and your boy Mikey. And shout out to Unlisted Productions for the music. And we are out. Once I find the stuff to click.
We do what we do.